guys, it's the No Sir Gamer with a special video. Today I'm going to go over and make my predictions for the Retro League's Best Video Game of 1991 tournament that will be starting today, August 29, 2016 at theretroleague.com. Here's what happened over at the forums at forums.retroleague.com. They allowed members to make nominations, and depending on what people thought of the game, they were awarded points and seeded in different brackets. You had brackets for systems like the Genesis, Super Nintendo, and even a wild card bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all 64 games and make my predictions of exactly what's going to happen in the tournament. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to start out with the Sega Genesis bracket, where the first seed, Sonic the Hedgehog, is going to take the 8th seed, Ys 3. And I don't think this one is going to be close. I think Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be the winner here. Next up, we have the 4th seed, ToeJam and Earl, taking on the 5th seed, Road Rash. And even though I could see Road Rash winning, usually the first game in the series is not the most highly regarded. Usually that's attributed to Road Rash 2, and ToeJam and Earl has quite the cult following. So I'm going to say that ToeJam and Earl pose ahead in a close one here. Next up, we have the 2nd seeded Streets of Rage taking on the 7th seed Outrun, the arcade classic brought over to the Genesis. However, I think Streets of Rage puts on a great performance here and runs away with victory. Finally, we have the 3rd seeded Wonder Boy in Monsterland taking on the 6th seed Quackshot starring Donald Duck. This one might be close, but Wonder Boy in Monster World should win. So in the second round of the Sega Genesis bracket, Sonic is going to take ToeJam and Earl, and Sonic, I believe, is going to come away with a close victory. Then we have Streets of Rage taking on Wonder Boy in Monster World. And even though Wonder Boy is a great game, Streets of Rage is really popular. So Streets of Rage should not have a big problem winning here. So that leaves the finals of the Sega Genesis bracket being Sonic the Hedgehog versus Streets of Rage. I could see Streets of Rage winning, but I think Sonic is going to pull ahead with another narrow victory. In the TurboGrafx 16 bracket, in the first match, we have the 1st seeded Bonk's Revenge taking on the 8th seed Bomberman. Bomberman might make this closer than expected, but Bonk should win. Then we have the 4th seed Kadash taking on the 5th seed Sherlock Holmes for the CD add-on. And I think Sherlock is a little bit more popular. It also appeared on the Sega CD and computers, so it should pull away here. Next up, we have the 3rd seed, Parasol Stars, taking on the 6th seed, Turrican. Turrican's one of those series that seems to have gotten more appreciated as time has gone on. So I think Turrican will win here, and it probably doesn't hurt that it also appeared on other formats like the Sega Genesis. Next up, we have the 2nd seed, Ys 3, taking on the 7th seed, Tailspin. Okay, who's thinking of the Tailspin theme right now? I know I am. But even though Tailspin has a very cool theme for a cartoon show, I think Ys 3 will win here. So in the second round of the TurboGrafx 16 bracket, Bonk's Revenge will take on Sherlock Holmes. And I'm sorry, Sherlock, you might pose a little bit of a threat, but Bonk should win. And then Turrican will take on Ys 3. Now, Ys Book 1 and 2 won the tournament last year, so I think Ys 3 will beat Turrican here in a close one. So in the finals, we have Bonk's Revenge taking on Ys 3. And you can't underestimate the power of Bonk. Bonk's Revenge will win the TurboGrafx 16 bracket. In the arcade bracket, we have Street Fighter 2 taking on Total Carnage, and it is going to be Total Carnage as Street Fighter 2 absolutely pummels it. Street Fighter 2 will be the winner. Next up, we have the 4th seed, Sunset Riders, taking on the 5th seed, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. And based on the popularity of the first TMNT game and of Turtles in general, I think TMNT will win. Next up, we have the 2nd seeded Simpsons taking on the 7th seed WWF WrestleFest. I would like to see WrestleFest win here, but I think the Simpsons are simply too popular. The Simpsons win. Next up, we have Terminator 2, the arcade game, taking on Terminator 2, the pinball game. I would really like the pinball game to win and go far in the tournament, but I think the arcade game will win in this matchup. So, in the second round, we will have Street Fighter 2 taking on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. And because it's not the original TMNT, I actually think it falls to Street Fighter 2. Next up, we have The Simpsons taking on T2 Arcade. And typically, light gun games don't do that well. And I think The Simpsons are just too popular for T2 Arcade. Simpsons win, leaving us with an arcade final of Street Fighter 2 taking on The Simpsons. And I believe Street Fighter 2 will deliver the knockout punch here. Street Fighter 2 is your arcade bracket winner. Over in the PC and Mac bracket, in the first round, we have the first seeded Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, taking on Commander Keen in Goodbye Galaxy in the 8th seed. And I don't think it's close. Monkey Island 2 should win easily here. Then we have the 4th seeded Out of This World taking on the 5th seed, The Adventures of Willy Beamish. I really liked Willy Beamish, but I think Out of This World wins here. Then we have the 2nd seeded Wing Commander 2 taking on the 7th seed, the Chessmaster 3000. And I think this one's going to be a blowout. Wing Commander 2 easily flies away with the victory here. Finally, we have the 3rd seed Lemmings taking on the 6th seed Duke Nukem. Now here's the thing, this is not Duke Nukem 3D, but the earlier action platform game. However, some people might confuse it, and I could see for that reason Duke Nukem winning. However, I do believe Lemmings will win here. So in the second round, Monkey Island 2 will take on Out of This World. And it's going to be a close one, but Monkey Island 2 will be victorious. And then we have Wing Commander 2 taking on Lemmings, and Wing Commander continues to have great success as it defeats Lemmings. Wing Commander 2 wins. So in the finals, we will have Monkey Island 2 taking on Wing Commander 2 in the battle of the sequels. And actually, I'm going to call a minor upset as the 2nd seeded Wing Commander 2 defeats the 1st seed Monkey Island 2 for the victory. In the Super Nintendo bracket, we have the 1st seed Super Mario World taking on the 8th seed UN Squadron, and the Squadron's going to call for help because they're going to be soundly defeated by Super Mario World. Then we have the 4th seed F-Zero taking on the 5th seed Super Castlevania 4. And because the Castlevania name is still popular today, I actually think it's going to win. Super Castlevania 4 defeats F-Zero. Then we have the 2nd seeded Super Ghouls and Ghosts taking on the 7th seed SimCity. And I'm going to call an upset here. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But I think SimCity is actually going to pull the biggest upset we've seen so far. And then we have Final Fantasy II in the 3rd seed taking on the 6th seed Super R-Type. And Final Fantasy II shouldn't have a problem. So in the second round, Super Mario World will take on Super Castlevania 4. And Super Mario World will win, and pretty easily. Then we have SimCity taking on Final Fantasy II. And Final Fantasy II shouldn't have a problem here. So in the finals of the Super Nintendo bracket, Super Mario World will go against Final Fantasy II. And in my opinion, Super Mario World will be the winner. And I actually don't think it's going to be that close. Next up is the NES bracket, where the 1st seed Tecmo Super Bowl is going to take on the 8th seed Batman Return of the Joker. And even though I am a Batman fan, I do believe Tecmo Super Bowl will run away with this one. Then comes the number 4 seed Shatterhand taking on the 5th seed High Speed. I like video pinball games, but Shatterhand should win easily here. Then comes the 2nd seeded Battletoads taking on the 7th seed Eliminator Boat Duel. And because Eliminator Boat Duel is a bit of an obscure game and most gamers are very familiar with Battletoads, Battletoads should have no problem winning here. Then we have the 3rd seed Ninja Gaiden 3 taking on Tiny Toon Adventures, the 6th seed, and Ninja Gaiden should have no problem putting away Buster and the gang. In the second round, Tecmo Super Bowl will take on Shatterhand and should have no problem scoring a victory here. And Battletoads will take on Ninja Gaiden 3. This might be a close one, and if this was Ninja Gaiden 1 or 2 taking on Battletoads, it might win, but I do believe Battletoads will beat Ninja Gaiden 3 here. So in the finals, we'll have Tecmo Super Bowl taking on Battletoads. Should be a close matchup, but Tecmo Super Bowl is still popular even to this day and should score a victory here. In the Game Boy bracket, we will have the 1st seed Metroid 2 taking on the 8th seed Faceball 2000. And Faceball 2000 is going to lose. It's probably going to be big. Metroid 2 wins. The 4 seed Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters is taking on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Back from the Sewers. And TMNT 2 should pull away with a victory due to the popularity of the Ninja Turtles. Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge is going to take on Operation C in a battle of the 2 seed taking on the 7 seed. And Operation C might put up a fight, but Mega Man should win. Then we have the 3rd seed, Castlevania 2, taking on the 6th seed, Final Fantasy Adventure. This might be close, but I predict Castlevania 2 should win. In the second round of the Game Boy bracket, Metroid 2 will take on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and I do believe Metroid 2 will pull away here. Then we'll have Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge taking on Castlevania 2, and this should be a close matchup, but I do think Castlevania 2, due to the popularity of the Castlevania franchise, will squeak out a victory here, leaving the finals being Metroid 2 versus Castlevania 2. And in this battle as a sequel, Metroid 2 will come up on top and become the Game Boy bracket winner. In the wild card bracket, we're going to open up with Golden Axe Warrior, a cult favorite on the Sega Master System, taking on the Game Gear version of Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse in the number 8 seed. And I think Golden Axe Warrior should hold on for a victory. Then we have Shinobi on the Game Gear, the 4 seed, taking on the 5th seed, Ninja Gaiden on the Atari Lynx. Now, I'm guessing most voters have not played either of these games, but due to the Ninja Gaiden name alone, I do believe it will pull ahead. Then we have an interesting battle where Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System takes on the Game Gear version of Sonic the Hedgehog. They're basically the same game. However, I'm going to guess that more US gamers have played the Game Gear version than the Master System version. And based on that fact alone, I'm going to take the 7th seed Sonic the Hedgehog on the Game Gear to be the upset winner here. Then we have the 3rd seed Stun Runner on the Lynx taking on the 6th seed Out of This World on the Amiga. Now, I'm guessing most gamers have not played either of these versions, but due to the Out of This World name alone, it's going to win. So in the second round, we're going to have Golden Axe Warrior taking on Ninja Gaiden on the Lynx. And I actually believe Golden Axe Warrior has gained in popularity over the years and will win here. Then we'll have Sonic the Hedgehog on the Game Gear taking Out of This World on the Amiga. And because of the popularity of the Sonic franchise, Sonic should win, leading us to a final in the wild card bracket where Golden Axe Warrior takes on Sonic the Hedgehog on the Game Gear. Now, I could see Sonic winning, but Golden Axe Warrior is just such a well-made game and held in such high regard that even though it's a bit obscure, I think it's going to end up being the wild card winner. In the quarterfinals, we're going to have Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis taking on Bonk's Revenge for the TurboGrafx-16, and I think Sonic will run away with the victory here just as the Sega Genesis beat out the TurboGrafx-16 in the marketplace. Then we have the Battle of the Sequels, where Street Fighter II, the arcade game, takes on Wing Commander 2 on the PC. But there's no stopping Street Fighter II. With a knockout victory, it grounds Wing Commander 2. Then we'll have Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo taking on Tecmo Super Bowl on the NES. This might be a close one, but Super Mario World should win. And then finally, we have Metroid 2 on the Game Boy taking on Golden Axe Warrior for the Master System. And due to the mainstream popularity of Metroid 2, it should have no trouble putting away Golden Axe Warrior. In the semifinals, I'm predicting Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis is going to take on Street Fighter II, the arcade game. And this one might be close, it could go either way, but I do believe Street Fighter II will knock out Sonic the Hedgehog. And then in the other semifinal, we'll have Super Mario World taking on Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. This again might be a close battle, but Super Mario World will once again reign victorious. So in the finals, we're going to have Street Fighter II on the arcade taking on Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. Now, if Sonic the Hedgehog somehow made it into the finals over Street Fighter II, I think Super Mario World will win. However, in this matchup, I actually think Street Fighter II, the arcade game, is going to win. So my prediction out of all 64 games is that Street Fighter II, the arcade game, will be named the Game of the Year for 1991. What do you think? Do you think I got some matchups wrong? Do you think another game will win the entire tournament? Let me know in the comments below. I would also appreciate it if you click the like and subscribe buttons. Also, check out my friends, the Retro League, at theretroleague.com, where you can start voting today in the tournament, which will run until October 10th, 2016. Also, be sure to check out the Retro League podcast as well. You can also support both me, the No Swear Gamer, and the Retro League podcast on Patreon, and we'd both appreciate it if you did. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the next No Swear Gamer video.